welcome wherever you are in the world. In this video, I want to talk you through, it sounds like the basics of the Rupes system, but actually it's where a lot of power comes from in the power and efficiency in the Rupes system. So if you want to learn to be more efficient, spend more time polishing, and spend more time doing the stuff that you really need to do, this is the video for you. This is also like a foundation video for a lot of the other concepts we go on to, like the polishing cycle videos I've done, and this is also the base groundwork for the advanced machine polishing that we do. So, ground zero, where do we start? First of all, we need a machine polisher. So, in this video, what we're talking about is the Rupes DA dual action machines, the free spinning DA machines, not rotary and not forced rotation like the Miele machines. So, Rupes 15 is what I'm using here, the 21, also the Duetto, the Mini, and then of course the Nano, sort of the tiny little polishers. What we're going to say here goes for all of that, except for the Nano when you've got the rotary attachment on it. So, what we're doing here is, and I'm calling this the Rupes system, the Rupes Formula, because, you know, the reason I love Rupes is they're the only people really that are not only selling you a polisher, but a pad and a liquid that makes a system. When they do that, and where I think the real power of this system is they then can define the working area, the amount of polish, and the speed that you should use in order to get good results. You can get results with this with any polish, any pad. You know, you're going to get hologram-free polishing with whatever you're using. But especially for you keener amateur guys, or for you professional guys, the real power in the system is in the efficiency that using it as it was intended brings. So that's where the real power is. So without further ado, let's talk about pad priming very quickly. So pad priming only really when the pad is brand new out of the box, or I guess if you're one of the guys that washes pads in the washing machine. I don't recommend that. I've never done it. I think it degrades the pads. I've used pads that have been washed. I never put water anywhere near my pads except when we're doing SWA, which is an advanced technique. And I think the pad stays more uniform throughout its life that way. So, pad priming, only really when the pad is brand new. For that we need two things. We need a machine and a pad, but we also need some polish. So, I'm just going to demonstrate with the Rupes yellow here. So, first thing we need to do when we're priming is turn the speed on the dial to speed 2. And then the next thing we need to do is put 4 dots of polish on. Please excuse my pad, by the way. I've just filmed this whole thing and then my camera didn't like it and lost the whole thing, which is always fun for when you're trying to video stuff. So I'm trying again. So yeah, there's some residue on from when I told you all about this a minute ago. So we'll just put that down there. So the first thing we're going to do is prime the pad. What this does is warm the pad up slightly. All the Rupes pads are an open cell structure, which means all of the cells, you know, it means air and compound is able to move around the pad, which is absolutely crucial for DA polishing. When you're with a unigrit abrasive, so a non-diminishing abrasive like we are now. So all we're going to do is put the machine on speed 2 and just let it sit in one place for about 30 seconds. If you're a keen viewer and you can see the stripe that I've got on my backing plate, after about 10 seconds you'll notice that speeds up slightly. Just as the compound warms up, it gets more lubricity to it and it gets spread out on the pad. So, priming, pull the trigger, no weight, and we're just going to sit there for, you know, we're just going to watch that speed really. Hold the pad flat obviously, and then just about now you can see that speed has gone up. if you're really closely looking. You probably can't hear all that I'm saying. And there we go. So just a little bit more, 20, 30 seconds. And there we go. We've got our polish spread out nicely around our pad. Put that down on the floor, grab a cloth, and then we're just going to buff off that residue ever so slightly. So, with that pad primed, we can now talk about polishing a bit more. At this point, I just want to mention briefly about a test spot. Probably do a separate video on a test spot first of all. But the one thing I want to stress, this came up already in Instagram messages actually from you guys. You've sent me some mega messages lately, thank you. At any point, if you want to know something, you've got a question, put a message down below here. Loads of people are messaging me on Instagram. Just however I can help, I'm here to help you. So please let me know. So we're going to polish now. This is this S5, I've not polished before, I know nothing about it, might have had paint, might not have. Never assume paint hardness, guys. The old German paint is hard thing is changing massively now. VW Audi paint that has been produced in the last 3 or 4 years is massively softer than it used to be. It varies by colour. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on with paint right now. So never assume. Always start out light, so always start out with a light pad and polish. I always start out with yellow, what we call yellow pad, yellow polish. And we do our test spot. So always do that first. So let's move on to the other variables. So machine speed. For polishing, Rupes recommend speed 4 on all dual action machines. We're also going to put 2 dots of polish on the pad. The next thing we need to talk about is pad area. So the area we polish is related to the size of the pad, and it needs to be 6 to 8 times the size of the pad. So if you think about overlapping sort of 3 across and then 3 down, we end up with a square. We should always do a sort of 20 to 30% overlap between passes. So that then leaves us with an area we're polishing 6 to 8 times the area of the pad. This is a Rupes 15, so we're a 125mm pad system. So if you take off, say, 25mm for overlap, then we've got 100 across, 300 across and 300 down. So about a foot square for those of you who are old like me. So about a foot square, obviously with the 21, with its 6-inch pad system, 150mm for those of you in metric, it's going to be bigger. For those of you with an Ibrid Nano on a 1-inch pad, it's going to be much smaller. It's going to be like the size of a postage stamp, size of a postcard. Okay? I'm just going to check you're still recording, having just done this and it not be recording. Yes, praise be, we are still recording. Great. So, we know what area we're going to polish. We know our speed, which is speed 4. We know how much polish, which is 2 dots. The last thing we need to say is how long we're going to polish for and how much pressure we're going to do that with. So what we're going to do is use a light to moderate pressure, enough to compress the pad slightly, and crucially enough to make sure that the whole of the pad is in contact with the paintwork. That goes hand in hand with the next sort of tip really, which isn't a part of the system but is crucial for free spin DA polishing. And it's the #1 thing I see on training courses. Sorry to mention it, but I guess it authenticates the video. But just to mention, I'm one of only 2 Rupes official trainers in the UK. So this is the official Rupes system we teach to people. And I know a few of you watching are ex-trainees of mine. This is the official system we teach. So the #1 thing I see on training courses is people not keeping the pad parallel to the paintwork. They have an angle, and what happens then is the pad stalls and it doesn't do any work. So that's why I always put a stripe still on every one of my machines. If you haven't, whatever DA you've got, first thing you should do, put a stripe on the backing plate to make sure that backing plate is always spinning when you're polishing. As soon as it stalls and it does this movement, you're not doing any work. By the way, you can get caught into a nasty circle there. More aggressive pad, more aggressive polish. Nasty things happen. So yeah, Always make sure that pad is spinning, which you do with your back arm, just making sure that the angle is always parallel to the pad you're polishing. So, working area 6 to 8 times the size of our pad, speed 4, 2 dots of polish, and then we're going to do 1 set of left and right passes, 1 set of up and down passes, and stop. For you pros who did what I did, which is just carry on using a Rupes DA the same way I used to use my rotary polisher, the real power of this system, this is a non-diminishing abrasive, which means there is no need for a spread pass, there's no need for zenithing, so starting off slow, moving to a working speed, slowing down at the end, no need for that. No need to spread it out because the abrasive never changes. So just adding those things up together, if you're still doing a zenith technique and you're still doing a spread pass, that might be taking 20 seconds per polishing section. There could be 40 or 50 polishing sections on a car. 20 seconds times 50 areas on a car could be 2,000 seconds. I'm doing fast maths here, guys, but 2,000 seconds is a lot of time where you could be doing other things and providing value for your customer in other ways. So just have a little think about that. No spread pass, set your speed at 4, leave your speed at 4. And then 1 set of left and rights, 1 set of up and downs, and that should take between 45 seconds and a minute. A short cycle is all we need. Non-diminishing abrasive, it's not breaking down, and we've got a DA that's not hologramming, so there's no need to go longer and longer and longer trying to reduce that or break down the compound. These modern non-diminishing compounds don't need to be broken down. So, I'm going to demonstrate that now. I'm going to start in the top left, you can start in the top right or anywhere you like. I start in the top left, do my left and rights, then my ups and downs, and then stop. I will talk while I'm doing this, but obviously the polish is quite loud, so I apologise if you can't hear. What you'll notice is it needs quite a slow arm. My first left and right, coming back across again. And finally my last left and right pass. Now I'm going to do my ups and downs. Up and down. Yeah, I know that was 4 up and downs, but there we go. So that should take 45 seconds to a minute, sorry. And obviously we've done a square section there, so 3 by 3 is fine, but so long as it adds up to that 6 to 8 times the pad area, don't worry about the shape. Obviously, I quite often polish with the contour lines of a bonnet. We've got a straight contour line down here and quite a long, thin section. So I might do 1 times 6 the pad area there, which is absolutely fine. We can do a 2 by 4 sort of thing, so long as it adds up to sort of 6 to 8 times that pad area, it's absolutely fine. So just to finish off the system, we've done our speed 4, we've done our 2 left and right passes, we've done some up and down passes. What we're going to do now is buff off, and then what Rupes call inspect. So we're obviously going to get, I've got a 1200 lumen little spotlight here. What we're going to do now, essentially this is our test section, so we're going to check and see what happens. Did we remove the defects that we're looking to remove? Did we remove the defects our customer is paying us to remove? If we didn't, we need to go to a heavier cut pad and polish. We can keep going with that pad and polish. Eventually the marks will come out, it'll take a long time. So we might need to go to a more aggressive pad and polish, or the paint might be responding well and we might have a shallow defect, which means that worked really well. So that's the basics of the system. Lots more involved in this. Please feel free to ask lots more questions. The key thing that I would say if you're new and you're watching this because you're a beginner is always remember to relax your elbows and your shoulders. if you stiffen up, I'm going to try and come on the side so you can see this. If you stiffen up and lock your arms and shoulders, as you bring the machine towards you, you will tend to come onto the toe of the pad, and that immediately will stop your rotation. So it's important to be relaxed. Use this back arm just to keep that machine parallel and keep that spin speed going as fast as possible. The other thing I would mention is with your front hand, if you are applying pressure off center, so either to the very top here or underneath here, the machine naturally wants to lean, and that can cause all sorts of problems with it wandering all over the place. So if you apply pressure right over the spindle center here, and you're uniformly compressing the pad, it will make your polishing a lot easier. So there you go, guys. That is the basics of the system. Speed for 2 dots, 6 to 8 times the pad area, 45 seconds to a minute with 2 passes. That's the basics of the system. Obviously with the advanced stuff, we tell you how you can change that. But what you should notice, especially with that 45 seconds to a minute cycle time, massively reduces the amount of time that you can cover a car in. With modern diminishing abrasives, there's no need to keep polishing more. And actually, if you have a look at my video that I've done on the polishing cycle, obviously what we're doing is removing paint residue. The longer we keep the trigger pulled, the more paint residue we've got. And actually, after that sort of minute and a half, and that changes if we've got a very aggressive pad and polish, we're getting more residue, so really we should shorten that up a little bit more, but that paint residue coming in causes quite a few bad things to happen. Then we get into things like emulsion breaks and all that sort of stuff. So anyway, let's not concentrate on that stuff. Please go and have a look at those videos on the channel if you want to know a bit more, but for the basic guys, and even for you professional guys who've been using machine polishers for years, just try and concentrate on that cycle, and I think it will massively change the speed that you polish your car with and the amount of value you can deliver to a customer. And it's all about raising that hourly rate, which is what we're all about, helping you guys make money if this is your living. So thanks very much. Go and check out one of those videos. See you on the next one.